Are you an idiot? Well, you're in good company. There are about 8 billion idiots on this planet, and that number grows every day. Don't be the guy or gal that says, "I'm not an idiot," because that makes you the biggest idiot of all. We all have our moments of brilliance and our moments of idiocy. Embrace it, folks. Don't be ashamed. Without those idiot moments, we would never be able to appreciate our brilliance. Welcome to I Love My Idiot, a podcast about the idiots we love, the idiots we loathe, and the idiots we can't seem to avoid. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Visit our website at ilovemyidiot.com.
Welcome to another episode of I Love My Idiot.
I'm your equal host, Clyde November.
And I'm Rosie November, and we're really excited to have you listening to our podcast today.
Tomorrow's my favorite holiday.
That's right.
Now, I know I said Halloween was my favorite holiday, but I think you can have multiple favorite holidays.
Absolutely. In fact, this entire episode is going to be dedicated to all of our veterans because Clyde himself is a veteran. And
That's right.
Yeah, we're super grateful for the service our veterans give our country.
Yeah, and it is a big deal because here's the thing, and I'm going to have a little bit of real talk with you for a second before we get into the humor of the show. When you sign up to serve this country, you give everything. Now, I sometimes consider myself lucky. I got out light, but did I get out without scars? No. Rosie will tell you. It's why my feet are messed up. It's why I'm deaf in one ear and I can't hear out of the other. I'm hard of hearing. I contracted something called H. pylori, which has destroyed the inner workings of my stomach, something that I'm still dealing with today. IBS, the list goes on. Boomer's got chronic back pain that he has to deal with every single day. You want to see the cost of freedom? Find a veteran. Look at what they live with. But I don't resent it at all. In fact, I carry it with pride. It's the badge of what I was able to endure for the betterment of my country. What else is messed up?
You have nightmares.
Yeah.
You can't drink alcohol because you become military dude.
No, that was Ambien. Yeah, this one time Rosie was struggling with sleep and a doctor prescribed her Ambien.
Which worked wonderfully for me. I love it. I miss it.
And keep in mind that there are some people that murder people once they're on Ambien because they go into this sleep zombie mode.
Yeah, you have no idea what you've done under Ambien.
Oh, yeah. Rosie would wake up the next morning and I would say, "Last night got pretty weird. You were saying some crazy shit." And she'd be like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah,
and
I wouldn't remember anything.
She would think she was sleeping through everything, but...
Although you had some of the most philosophical conversations with me under Ambien.
I did. I wish I had recorded them because they were so mind-boggling that I can't even, explain exactly how they went.
But they made you think, though, Clyde. They made you think.
They did make me think. They made me a better person. They pushed me philosophically to see a new worldview that I didn't even know you had until you started taking Ambien.
I know. It does something. I now understand why the Native Americans go into a longhouse and smoke something to have visions, because seriously, under that drug, I had major visions. It was the weirdest.
Oh, yeah.
It was one of the weirder things. But anyhow, coming back to the topic here.
Now, we are not drug users by any means.
It was prescribed by a physician who needed to help me sleep.
And when Rosie would take it, she would stare at the ceiling and I would know when it would kick in because she would suddenly say, "Whoa." And I would say, "What happened?" And then she would tell me the ceiling just turned into cotton candy.
Yeah.
And that's when I knew the philosophical conversations were about to start.
Before I'd start snoring.
Yeah. Now, she wanted me to experience the cotton candy.
Yeah.
And I was fine not doing it. I don't like taking mind-altering substances. After she tried to convince me, it's one of the few times in my life I have broken the law. I took someone else's prescription medicine.
Thank God I didn't take it that night. Let's just say that. Because I wanted to have some sort of philosophical conversation with you.
It had a different effect on me. Right? So I take this, and for the first 20 minutes, she keeps asking me if I can see the cotton candy. And I kept telling her, there's no cotton candy. I don't think it's working.
Yeah.
I kept saying, this pill doesn't work on me, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's when it got a little scary.
Yeah.
Right? It started working and I was asleep. In my mind, I thought I was asleep and I was having a dream that I was back in Iraq and I was with Boomer. But what was really happening is I was on the side of the bed.
Yeah.
I pulled Rosie off the side of the bed because in my mind, she was Boomer.
Yeah.
And so
we were in a very unsafe situation.
Yes. We were hiding behind the bed.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is once she kind of described this to me, I remembered it, but I was like, oh, I thought that was a dream.
Yeah.
And so it was really crazy. But
well, it really got weird when you wanted to get the kids.
Yeah, because at some point you told me that I was making too much noise. Because at first I think you were playing along like, oh, this is cute. This is fun.
It's like, what are we doing here?
Yeah,
Whatever.
and I'm screaming like, Sergeant, they're shooting bombs at us.
Just so you know, I did not think it was cute or fun. I was crying and terrified because you were super scary. And all of a sudden, I had this realization that you have been through some shit that I don't know about. It was actually the moment where I realized that the service that you served for our country was much more than the stories that you tell. And it impacted your soul to some level because under this sleeping pill of all things, it really brought out something in you that I had never seen before.
Here's the thing, though. I am to the point where I don't think I revisit my experience in dreams.
No, and
often.
we were way younger then.
Yeah.
I
was not that far removed from those experiences.
In fact, you were still in the military.
I was still in the military.
And, it was just really shortly after Iraq and things were still kind of fresh for you. So it was kind of a weird time, but yeah, I mean, definitely gave me an appreciation and made me love you even more, Clyde, because I know that
that's crazy.
You have served our country and you've done some things that I don't know about that you'll never talk about. And I appreciate that because I know that you would do anything to protect us. And so, yeah, this got real on the podcast, but that's what the service that military men and women do for us every day. They're out there protecting us. And it's really an important cause. It's noble, and it's really something to admire and look up to. So I'm really grateful for our military. I'm grateful for you, Clyde. I'm super excited for Veterans Day because it's your favorite holiday.
Let me tell you why it's my favorite holiday. When I wake up in the morning, I get free breakfast at Denny's.
Yeah. You never feel good after Denny's. Let me just tell you.
Free is free.
Yeah. For a reason.
Yeah. Rosie hates Denny's, but one time we were on vacation and our hotel was right next to a Denny's. And I said, hey, let's go eat Denny's. And she looked at me and said, I'd rather die than eat Denny's.
Yeah.
Let's fast forward about 12 hours. She's shit-faced drunk. She turns to me and says, dude, we should totally go get Denny's.
If you're saying that we should totally go get Denny's, you've had one too many whiskey sours.
Oh, yeah.
That's all I gotta say.
Denny's is like the last resort, like 3 a.m. and you're like, crap, nothing else is open. Let's go to Denny's.
Also, all that grease and stuff really soaks up that alcohol, sober you right up.
So after my free breakfast at Denny's,
which the kids love, it's the only time of the year, the one day that they get to eat Denny's is on Veterans Day because I don't let them eat that crap any other time of the year.
Yeah, but when we're there, we wait in line for like an hour because they are just serving veteran after veteran after veteran. So I always tell the kids, you cannot get your breakfast until you tell at least 3 veterans thank you for their service. I'm trying to instill an appreciation for our children as well. Because what's interesting is when you're there, you see people of all different kinds. You see people that are still currently serving. You see older veterans. Mm-hmm. I've seen people with eye patches. You know, you see all kinds of stuff. When we first started having these traditions where we'd go out for free meals, I know that was your thing always, but then you brought me into that world. It was really cool. When we first got together, we'd see a lot of World War II veterans. We're kind of losing that generation, which is sad that our kids aren't really going to be able to experience anybody who served in World War II. One thing that has really progressed with our children is that they tell veterans that they appreciate them and thank them for their service everywhere we go.
if somebody's ever wearing a veteran hat or a veteran coat or a veteran shirt or anything that has to do with the military, our kids are always the first to say, hey, thank you for your service, which is really cool.
So after the breakfast at Denny's, then I get my free oil change, and then Applebee's is our tradition. And something really cool happened last year at Applebee's, because last year was the first year you pointed out there's just not that many World War II vets.
Right.
And sitting at the table right next to us were 2 World War II vets eating together. They both looked like they were in their 90s.
Oh, it was so cool.
I know, and I just said, how special of an experience is this? You have 2 living heroes. Who knows what the hell they did all those years ago.
All I know is I wouldn't want to give them an Ambien, I'll tell you that much.
Absolutely. But I came up with this brilliant idea. My idea was, how cool would it be if on Veterans Day, when they had these free veteran meals, they had an open mic night?
Oh, yeah.
And you just allowed a veteran to go up and tell their favorite military story.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, I feel like people would pay to see something like that. I know I would.
Absolutely.
I think it'd be awesome.
Yeah. That's why we started podcasting, really, is because we wanted to share stories, but we also wanted to hear other people's stories. I grew up in a family that was really weird, but my grandpa almost served in the military.
What do you mean almost served?
He was young and excited about life, and he decided he was going to join the military and served in boot camp. Well, there was this rule. I don't know if this is still a rule today, where you are not allowed to serve if you have flat feet.
Okay.
Is that still a thing?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. But I'm sure now it's probably not as big a deal because there's so many different kinds of soles of shoes that you can get. But when he was in the military, he claims that he got kicked out in boot camp because his feet would bleed from having flat feet. So he sort of was a hater a little bit on the military.
He was bitter?
Yeah, he was real bitter that he was not allowed to be in the military, and he never claimed his military experience other than to say, military, they kicked me out, and that's a bunch of bullshit. And so I grew up with this kind of like real negativity around it, you know, other than I had an appreciation because, you know, I knew that the military was important, but I had this really bitter grandpa who was always chewing on my ear, you know.
One of the things that allows me to really look at my military service with fondness was the relationships I made with people.
Even Phil.
While I was in Iraq, well, I wouldn't go that far. Phil is out of my life now.
Yeah. Phil, we're sorry.
Hey, we don't apologize on the podcast. That's rule number 1.
Phil, we're not sorry, but sorry.
We're sorry that we're not sorry. But while I was over in Iraq, the truth of the matter is there were times where it was real serious, but the majority of the time we just laughed a lot. We just goofed around, and it's kind of what we had to do to keep ourselves sane, you know? But I was there with a great group of guys. I was there with my best friend Boomer, who I've known since I was in the 7th grade, and I feel like when I look back at my military experience, I could not have gotten through and been the same soldier that I was if I wasn't there with my best friend Boomer. So Boomer, if you're listening, and if you're not, you're dead to me. I love you, Boomer. You were there for me in a time when I needed it. For that, I'm always going to be grateful. You are always going to be one of my brothers. But my military story that I'm going to share, I can't say that this is my favorite story because I have a lot of stories, right? But here's what I'm going to tell you. I happened to be in Iraq when Iraq was going through this period of transition. Saddam Hussein had already been removed from power, and they were going through this process of electing new government officials and doing it in a democratic process. So during their second election, I had the task of doing convoy security and driving throughout the city of Kirkuk.
Weren't you driving like the dignitaries and stuff?
I was driving all kinds of stuff. We actually transported ballots at one point. We were driving dignitaries.
Yeah.
We were bringing lunch to people that were just stationed out in the middle of the city at these different checkpoints. we were doing all kinds of weird stuff. And so it was this constant, we'd wake up, we'd go out, drive around. And after a while, you start to lose sight of what you're doing because it was just constant. You know, you drive around, then we go back to the base. An hour later, we drive around again, then we go back to the base. And I think a large part, they just wanted our presence out there, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Right? Because during these election times, there was a lot of chaos. There was a lot of intensity. And there were a lot of terrorists coming out of the woodwork trying to make sure this election didn't go off smoothly. And so they just wanted us out there. And so as we were driving around, we came to this traffic circle, and they have these huge traffic circles over in Iraq. And when I got to the traffic circle, there were all these Iraqi police cars there with their little sirens flashing. So we stopped and asked them what was going on, and they were blocking the road off so no one could get by. And this Iraqi police captain walks up to us and he says, "We think there's a bomb in the middle of this road." And he points over to this big old thing in the middle of the road. And they would like put bombs in like whatever. They would put them in bags. They would put it whatever.
Yeah.
It looked like a giant tarp that was just sitting in the middle of the road.
In the middle of the road or to the side of the road?
It was like in the middle of the road. And
well, that's obviously a bomb then if it's in the middle of the freaking road.
Right? The guy said, "We need you to call the bomb squad." So we pick up the radio, we call the bomb squad, we say, "Hey, we got a possible IED out here. We need someone to come blow this thing up." The bomb squad comes back and says, "Okay, but we're in the middle of the election, so everyone has a bomb right now. So we'll see you in 6 hours." And we said,
"Oh my gosh.
Okay." Now, I didn't care because we were going to be running around for the next 6 hours anyways, so I was just kind of like, "Oh, cool. Now we get to sit here."
So do you just avoid that part of the road, or did you like go do the rest of your work and come back?
No, we have to stay there and guard the road, you know, and make sure no one gets hurt and make sure everyone's aware, you know. So the captain comes back and my team leader tells him, "The bomb squad's on their way. They'll be here in 6 hours." And the captain rolls his eyes and he says, 6 hours. And he looks over at some Iraqi police officer who doesn't even have any facial hair yet. Like, the guy is baby-faced. He might be 17 years old. This guy, he's got this look where he's just excited to have a uniform on.
Bushy-tailed.
Yeah, he's still idealistic.
Yeah.
He hasn't been beaten down by the police job yet. He's sitting there with good posture, holding his AK-47, trying to look as squared away as possible. And that captain looked at him, pointed at him, and said, "Hey, you, walk over there and kick that and see if it's actually a bomb." And this kid just has this like, huh? And we kind of started laughing because we thought
he was
a joke, right?
Oh, no.
And the kid clearly thought it was a joke too, because he was kind of like, and the captain says something, you know, in Iraqi.
Probably in Iraqi,
yeah,
you can't
he's like,
understand
blah, 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 right?
Yeah.
And then he's like sitting there, starts screaming at him and pointing.
Oh, no.
And all of a sudden, this kid hands off his AK-47 to the next police officer and just starts walking out there. And I'm thinking, holy shit, this is about to go down. Boomer's got his video camera filming.
Oh,
like,
my
he's
God.
like, dude, he's like, I don't know what's about to happen, but this poor mother effer is about to kick this bomb. And I want to get it on film.
Oh, my God.
Because that's just kind of how Boomer was. And I mentioned to my team leader, I said, "Hey, you should say something so this guy doesn't just walk out there and die."
Yeah.
Right? And the whole thing is, once the bomb blows up, then everything can just move on. And so they basically sent that guy out there to kick it. And if it's a bomb, it's going to blow up. But once it blows up, everyone can, you know, just carry on with their life. And it made me appreciate the fact that I served in the United States Army and not some third world country army, because we value human life.
Yeah.
Right? At any point, if something happened to me, I knew that the guys around me were going to take care of me, take care of my body, you know?
Yeah.
So this guy walks out there and the guy just kicks this.
Oh my gosh.
This thing, right?
That's terrifying.
It flies open It's just a tarp that was in this bundle, and it flies open and settles to the earth like a parachute. Nothing was in it. It was just a tarp that must have fallen off a truck or something.
Oh my gosh. Thank goodness.
Yeah. Boomer shuts his video camera off and says, oh man, I thought I was about to capture something there. The poor guy that walked back there, he is sweating bullets.
Oh, yeah.
And all the other Iraqi police officers start like kind of laughing at him and poking at him. Now, remember how I told you that guy was like baby-faced and looked like he wasn't a day over 17?
Yeah.
When he came back, he had wrinkles.
Yeah,
like
that'll age you.
Oh, yeah, that took years off his life.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a kind of a funny thing that happened. It could have turned out horrifying. It could have turned out to be a story that I'd never repeat in my life, you know?
Yeah.
But thank goodness it was just a tarp. You know what I mean? So there's my military story. We want to thank all the veterans. I'm lucky enough to be in the same brotherhood as you. I think it is one of the biggest privileges that I have in my life. Right next to being married to Rosie and being the parent to the 3 coolest kids that I've ever met. Being in the veteran fraternity is just the biggest deal to me. So
yeah, and thank God for all the veterans around the world. So now I'd actually like to talk a little bit about idiot spotlights. So I just got back yesterday from a major work trip. So I was gone for about 4 days.
It was a long 4 days. Rosie travels a lot for her job.
Traveling, you meet a lot of weird people out there.
You meet a lot of idiots.
Yeah, and a lot of idiots and a lot of people doing some weird, idiotic stuff. So
this idiot spotlight goes out to the idiots on the airplane.
That's right.
And the idiots in the airport.
So I had the opportunity to sit by the guy who does not want to speak to you at all. Like, not even like, hey, I'm James Bond. Like, he wanted nothing to do with me. Now, when you're sitting in an airplane and you literally have zero space between your arms because those seats are so close together, especially on those little mini ones, it's really hard to sit next to somebody and never like look at them or talk to them because you're so close.
I totally disagree with you 100%. In fact, in the scenario, I think you were actually the idiot. I've sat next to people like you, and it stresses me out. I'm like, I just want to like read my book or put my headphones on or whatever. Some people, they can't go through a flight without like bugging the heck out of me. Now, Rosie, I don't know if you remember this, but we caught a flight once to Florida. It was the only time we've ever flown together where we were not seated next to each other.
Yeah, it was really weird. And we even tried to get it changed, but the seats were already so full.
Yeah, they wouldn't accommodate for us. So I was like 6 rows in front of you. Mm-hmm. You were 6 rows behind me. And my whole idea was I'm going to sit down, hopefully sit next to someone who's quiet, and I want to sleep. The person who comes up is clearly as introverted as me, and I was thinking, this is smooth sailing. This is going to be a great flight. Now, as soon as we take off, what do I start hearing from 6 rows back?
The giggles.
The laugh.
Yeah.
You all know what I'm talking about. Rosie has a very distinct laugh. She's sitting next to some guy who thinks he's a comedian or something.
Dude, he was a comedian.
Will not stop talking to her.
That guy actually performs in comedy clubs every day of his freaking life.
And maybe on the airplane is not the time to try out your new act.
Yeah, he was trying out his material on me. He was freaking hilarious. I mean, I've never seen him on Netflix, so I don't think he made it big or anything. But yeah, no, that was a good flight.
Yeah, well, you know what? At one point, the introverted dude that was sitting next to me kind of like looked over at me and he said, "There's one on every flight." And then he was like pointing to the back. And like, I didn't have the nerve to tell him that's my wife. I just looked at him and I said, I know, I wish whoever that is would shut up so we can all sleep.
Well, that's not as bad as the flight I had 2 times ago. I actually sat by a lady who claimed to have a back injury from the 90s or something, and that The turbulence on the airplane aggravated some nerve. She complains to the flight attendant that her back is hurting and that she's getting injured by the turbulence. The flight attendant is giving her pillows and straps and crap to like hold her body so that she can, make it to the home or whatever. And
let me strap you down. Yeah. Maybe that'll help.
In fact, this is a 45-minute flight. It's between two freaking cities in California, so it's not like we have to go far. They were literally thinking about landing the plane early to get this woman off the plane because she's like hollering and whooping, and I'm sitting right freaking next to her. Like, this is a horrible flight experience. They announced before we even land that as soon as we land, the paramedics will be entering the aircraft to remove somebody from the aircraft. Well, that somebody is the lady sitting next to me throwing a big fit the entire flight. So then they're like, you got to move because we got to get this gurney and crap in the aircraft. So now it's a full packed flight and I'm like sitting practically on the person in the seat behind me because they need in and they need space and there's nowhere for my body to go. It was a terrible experience. And yeah, she was hauled off by paramedics. That was a really weird plane experience.
Yeah, that sounds terrible. Mm-hmm. At any point, did you feel sorry for her, or were you just so annoyed that you were like, come on, lady, hold it together?
Okay, so I did feel sorry for her because I'm an empath. Like, I really care about people. I'm very empathetic. So I did feel bad for her. But the worst freaking part is she made me late for my connecting flight because I had to give a statement as to if anything crazy happened on the aircraft to injure her because she was a person who liked to sue people. In fact, on the plane ride, between the times where she was hollering, she would tell me, oh yeah, I sued the Marriott last month for...
She's like bragging about suing
floors or something. And so I totally told the investigator, I was like, listen, she told me she sued like 2 hotels and another airline. So I'm just telling you, I didn't see anything wacky except for the fact that she might be wanting to find a reason to sue you. Yeah, it was a really crazy experience. So I was late for my connecting flight. I got to meet a bunch of people in the airport that you never get to see behind closed doors. It was a really weird experience. Yeah, so then I did finally get a connecting flight, but I ended up being like 4 hours late for my meeting, and that sucked. I missed the meeting. It wasn't just late. It was like no-show. But yeah, she really fucked up my work trip, I'll tell you that much.
One time I was the horrible passenger on an airplane, but it kind of wasn't my fault. When I was flying back to the United States from Iraq, they had us staying in this barracks and they kept telling us, okay, you have to walk down to the flight line. And I would walk to the flight line. It was 120 degrees and I would just sweat like crazy. And we'd get there and then they'd say, oh, there's a dust storm. Sorry, you got to walk back. So by the time I finally flew out on this C-130 military plane, I had walked back and forth about 5 or 6 times from my barracks to the flight line. And so finally they fly me and I start thinking I smell so bad because I have sweated or swat or swatted. I don't know the past tense of sweat.
Dude, and trust me, you, after doing yard work, I'm like, don't even touch me until you get a shower, dude.
Let me tell you, if you think I smell after yard work, it was nothing compared to this. Because I could smell myself. You smell bad when you smell yourself, right? Because after yard work, you're like, you smell. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't smell. Yeah.
My favorite is when Rosie says, I don't like your smell, Daddy.
Yeah, she says that all the time. It hurts. It hurts.
Dude, 4-year-olds are always honest, so you got to clean that up.
When I finally land back in the States, we land in Houston, and then I have to get on a flight from Houston to Denver.
And you stink this whole time?
And now I stink even worse, because do you know how long of a flight it is from Iraq to Houston? First you fly to Kuwait, then they fly you to Germany, then they flew us to Ireland, and then they flew us to Houston. Yeah. So basically it's like a day later. So now on top of just stinking from sweat, now I've gone a whole extra day without showering. So I board this plane in Houston and I sit down next to this guy and I just looked at him, and I'm wearing my military uniform, and I just looked at him and I said, "Sir, I know that I smell rancid." and I am extremely sorry that you have to sit next to me. And the guy, just trying to be as friendly as possible, just said, I don't know what you're talking about. I can't smell anything. And I was like, okay, whatever. Right? And then he's like, but thank you for your service. And I'm like, thank you for
your service right now.
Exactly. I'm like, your country thanks you. Right?
Well, here's the thing. I don't think that you were being an idiot in that moment. Okay, the stinky idiot is the one that brings their fish dinner on the aircraft and eats it sitting next to you and stinks up the whole place, and they got broccoli and fish, and it's like this delicious meal when you're in a freaking open aired environment. But on an airplane, that sucks. This
when
makes
you're
the
trapped
whole,
inside a tube, that scent's not going anywhere.
It makes the entire airplane stink. Yeah, no, that's the idiot. You smelling bad from Iraq, that's forgivable, but I don't forgive the guy with salmon and broccoli getting on the airplane.
I'm impressed with you that you said that's forgivable, because anytime I have any kind of odor, you don't act like that's forgivable.
Well, no, because you got to take care of that.
So had we been married at that time and I got off the airplane smelling like that, would you have hugged me?
Yeah, I would have been really excited to see you.
And then would you have told me that I smelled like shit?
No. I respected you more then. After you've been married for almost 14 years, you're like, you stink, get in the shower.
True.
Dude, you say the same shit to me.
I do not say you stink. I've never...
Babe.
Never.
Okay, walking the streets of Seattle for 6 hours.
I said something stinks. I did not specify it was you. That was your own insecurity. I just
Plus, I had
pointed
that
out.
Stress sweat from walking through Tent Valley where all the freaking homeless people live. I had that stress sweat, which stinks worse than other sweat.
It's interesting how certain sweats smell differently.
Yeah, and I'd forgotten my deodorant on that trip. We were actually going to drop by a Walgreens or something to pick up some deodorant. And
so here's my question. Do you actually enjoy flying? Because you do it a lot.
Oh, yeah. I like flying. Here's the problem. I do get really, really sick.
Yeah,
Motion
you get
sickness.
Car sick all the time.
Yeah. So I actually don't talk on airplanes. That one time with the comedian was an exception because he was a talker. But I really actually don't talk that much on airplanes because I feel so sick the whole time that once the plane is up in the air and going, I can no longer speak.
Do you do anything special to try to...
I try to sleep the whole time.
Well, that sickness, like take an Ambien or something like that?
Never. I would never do that. Yeah, no, I don't take anything. Sleep is really my best thing. I got my C-bands on and I take a nap usually. It's harder when you're in the middle seat. I like to be on the inside. I like to sit next to a window so I can lean and sleep. You're actually an aisle guy. You like sitting in the aisle.
Yeah, because I'm 6'2", so I got to have somewhere to stretch my leg out, Mm-hmm. And so I always try to sit in the aisle seat, and then I keep one leg in the aisle. I've had those little ladies that push that cart down, grind it right into my leg and say, sorry, sir, we didn't see your leg sitting there.
Yeah.
It's not cool.
But here's the thing I have learned on airplanes. I don't think chivalry still exists in very many places. It is very, very rare that anybody, man, woman, child, will help me get my bag down from above. I'm like, seriously, it used to be when I traveled 10, 15 years ago, I would always have people offer to get my bag down. And now, never, almost never, does anybody offer to help me get my bag down. Even if they see I'm struggling, because I am very short. I'm 5'0" nothing. And I'm small, so I'm not very strong. And they'll just watch me struggle.
You know why? It's because they see the wedding ring.
Is that it?
That's
I never used to have
yeah.
the wedding ring?
Yeah.
Dude, I gotta stop wearing that sucker because it's getting me problems.
Whoa. When you travel, you need to keep that ring on.
So honestly, I think the guy who is behind a 5' girl who weighs very little doesn't help her get her 50-pound bag from up above the freaking thing out. That guy's an idiot.
Whether someone's married or not, you should help them out.
Yeah.
And you know what? Me being 6'2", what do I help people with all the time?
Reaching.
It's the only gift God gave me. God gave me one skill and it's reaching something high. In fact, today when I was leaving work, one of my coworkers said, tomorrow, I need to hang something up high in my classroom. Will you swing by? And I'm like,
yeah, sure.
Why not? Why not? God gave me this gift. I'm sure he gave you gifts too. I hope you use yours for good too. But
absolutely.
Yeah. So help people out. Don't be that idiot.
Yeah. I also don't like the drunk idiot on the airplane. I find him or her to be obnoxious.
Yeah, I've been the drunk idiot once on an airplane. It was not good. They almost landed the plane a little early.
Yeah.
It was a big misunderstanding. And keep in mind, I was with Boomer. So,
oh my gosh.
Craziest thing. I was flying from Philadelphia to Denver, and I had a layover in Chicago. Guess who I meet in the freaking airport? Boomer.
Yeah.
My best friend. I see him in the airport, and I'm like, what are you doing? He was flying back from Florida and had a layover in Chicago.
Nice.
And we coincidentally end up on the same freaking flight, sitting right across the aisle from each other. We're talking
awesome.
Your all-time coincidences. So we decided to cap this experience off by getting shit-faced drunk. Of course, we got a little too drunk before we even boarded the plane. And then once we were on the plane, we ordered a drink. And then Boomer starts talking about how he wants to order another drink. And we look to the front of the plane, and the flight attendant is just standing in the middle of the aisle, right near the front of the plane. Boomer raises his hand and signals the guy to come. And the guy's sitting there staring at us, but not moving. And Boomer's like, what the hell is this guy doing? So he waves again, and then I wave. And we're both waving at the guy to come because we want another drink. Finally, Boomer says, go tell the guy that we want a couple drinks. So I said, okay. So I get up, I start walking to the front of the aisle, and the flight attendant starts running at me full speed with the cart, just pushing it. And I was like, whoa, what the frick is happening? And as he's running at me, he's yelling at me, get back, get back. And I was like, holy shit, something's going down here, right? And so I turned around and I ran and got back in my seat. And then he slowly backed up and went back. And I was like, what the hell just happened? And Boomer was like, what did you do? He's like, why did that guy charge at you? I was like, I have no freaking clue. Right?
Oh,
so we're sitting there watching the guy, and Boomer's trying to yell at him we only wanted drinks. We come in peace. And then all of a sudden, the pilot comes out of the bathroom. The guy was guarding the pilot in the bathroom with the cart as his weapon. And then the pilot goes back into the cockpit. They lock the door, right? And I'm like, is this some kind of post 9/11 protocol? What the hell did I just witness? And then the guy comes strolling over and he's like, if you ever see me in position again and you get up, we will land this plane, blah, blah. And I'm trying to explain to the guy, I had no idea the pilot was taking a piss. I'm sorry, we just wanted a drink. And the guy is sitting there yelling at both Boomer and I.
Oh my gosh.
Anyways, surprisingly, he actually did sell us a couple more drinks.
Oh no.
And, it was a great flight. Other than the fact that I almost probably had my toes run over.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. You're probably one of the only people ever being charged by a drink cart.
To this day, my number one fear is getting run over by a flight attendant pushing a cart.
Do not disturb me in position. How are you supposed to
As
know?
if I know. It's dude, you were just standing there behind your cart. Maybe if you had one hand held out in a stop position and one hand held up like a karate chop, I would have figured it out. I don't know. How am I supposed to just infer that you're guarding the cockpit right now? I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
This was my first flight after 9/11.
Yeah.
I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah. You know what's even worse than drunk people on an airplane? Scared people
Ooh.
on an airplane. I had a lady, I kid you not, prayed out loud my entire flight from Minneapolis to Denver.
Now, by out loud, do you mean like whispered it under her breath, but you could hear it? Or are you talking like, Lord, Father, and Savior,
Yeah.
bless
I'm
us?
talking evangelical. Twice, the flight attendant came up to her and said, "Ma'am, can you lower your voice?" At one point, I was like, are we going to die? Like, does she know more than I do
Has
about
she had
this
a vision?
plane? Does she like have a direct with God? Like, is she in conversation with him and knows that something's going to happen with this plane? I don't know. It was really annoying. But then you also have the shakers.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
The guy where every time you hit a bump, it's like, oh!
yeah.
It's like, dude.
You're freaking me out.
It's like even the ladies on the plane aren't making that noise, dude. Calm down.
Exactly. You got the criers.
The criers are bad. Criers are bad. Have you ever done a free fall on a plane where you're flying and all of a sudden you just drop like 1,000 feet in elevation?
No.
It's happened to me, and I'm not proud to say, but I went, oh!
Why would that ever need to happen? Like bad turbulence or something?
Oh, we were flying through, we were leaving St. Louis and we were flying through a storm. I think I was in high school. I was flying out with my parents.
Oh my gosh.
And I said to my mom, "Are you afraid that we're going to die right now?" And she said, "No, because I know that I have a first class ticket to heaven."
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, dude, I don't know that I do. I was like, I need this plane to land because I need more time to like apologize to God for some of the sneaky stuff I did in high school.
I'm pretty
you know?
bad. I'm pretty bad person.
I'm like, Mom, I
Yeah.
don't even want to reveal, you know? So,
Dude, your dad is like a leader.
oh, my dad slept through the whole thing.
but
He
I
had
mean,
no idea.
Dude, he's a leader in your church. Like, he could easily, gladly taken your confessions right then and got you that first class ticket into heaven.
Yeah, well, first of all, we weren't Catholic, so I don't think we did the confession process exactly how you're picturing. Confession in my church was more like Game of Thrones, where they strip you naked, have you walk through the street while the peasants throw heads of cabbage at you, and the village elders walk behind you saying, "Shame! Shame!" My dad was sound asleep. He's the only, everyone on the plane is freaking out, including the pilot who kept coming over and kept saying, buckle up. And then like 2 minutes later it would come on, ladies and gentlemen, stay in your seats. I'm just like, dude, could we have some confidence in your voice? Like, ladies and gentlemen, we are flying through a storm, but I've done this many times. You've got nothing to worry about. That's what I want from the pilot.
He got you there. Yeah.
He got us there, but not before he let us do a free fall that was like 1,000 feet. I don't know how long it takes for an object to fall 1,000 feet.
Oh my gosh.
So it may have actually been like 7
It was
feet.
probably like 8 feet.
Dude, I'll tell you what. For about 3 seconds, I felt like my stomach was in my throat. We were just dropping. And I'm assuming, I'm going to say it was 1,000 feet because that sounds, nice and crisp.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I hate it when you get the real new pilot, like the guy who hasn't done too many trips in an airplane.
The guy with no gray hair in his head.
Yeah, exactly. You always know when you have the new pilot, when you land and they immediately hit that brake, it's trying to stop you way too soon, and it's rough. But not only does he do that, but it bounces sometimes, like a couple of bounces too. Like, the guy hasn't really clearly had the landing training yet, and he is not landing this plane well. And then he's got plenty of roadway left because he's now stopped the plane at record speeds. So then you do the slow crawl around the curve to get to your bay. Yeah, that's a thing. That's a thing.
When I get on a plane, you know how the pilot a lot of times stands by the front to greet people as they get on?
I always thank them, except that guy I don't thank. I'm like,
as I'm walking
you were a
on-
shitty lander.
If I see someone with peach fuzz on the chin, I'm just like, oh, hell no, I'll catch the next flight.
Yeah.
I want Sully Sullenberger every time I fly. I want to know that if I like hit a goose in the air
Oh, yeah.
and that plane starts to spin, that guy's going to like somehow land me in the Hudson.
For the most part, pilots are actually so good. Like, I'm so glad that they can get us in the air and get us back down. Like, I could never do that job. You know what I mean?
It would be a lot of pressure. I would feel like every time I started to bring the plane down, the whole way down, I'd just be like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit.
I'm about to land this sucker and I don't know how to do it. Yeah, no doubt. But you got to practice, right? They don't just let you have a plane full of people. Like, you got to pass some tests, I'm sure.
Yeah, and then they start you out with like the small
and then you're
airline.
Probably a little nervous, because you're new at this, even though you've practiced. It's like, oh, now I have like 300 people on my plane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, this is what I hate about when you're flying and I find out you're flying on one of those little airlines or one of those little puddle jumper planes.
Oh, yeah.
They don't give the experienced pilots the puddle jumper.
No.
The experienced pilots are driving those big old planes. I said driving. Is that the right word?
Piloting.
Flying.
Flying. Yeah, definitely. It's not driving. That's for
definitely
sure.
not driving. Yeah. So it's always the inexperienced guy, the guy that, doesn't have any hair on his chest yet, that's flying these planes. And it freaks me out because you are far too valuable. You are the most valuable thing in my life. And if you die, I'm going to have to raise these children by myself.
That would be, that would be terrible. I wouldn't want to raise them without you either. So
I know.
It's mutual.
We are a team. We agreed upon that about 12 years ago.
Yeah. Oh, so many airplanes, so many stories. It's like, it's hard to encompass all of the things.
It certainly is. But you know what? You, the audience out there listening, if you were on a flight with an idiot passenger of some kind, we'd love to hear the story. Let us know. Contact us on our website, ilovemyidiot.com. Contact us on Facebook. Tell us about the idiots you've seen on an airplane. Or maybe you are an idiot. Don't be afraid to admit it. We're all idiots.
That's right. Well, Clyde, it's been a good episode.
It has been a good episode.
Thank you so much for your service. I am so grateful that you served our country, but I'm also so grateful that you came home safe so that I could build a family with you, Clyde. So thank you so much for your service. And thank you for being a great husband, a great father.
And a great equal host.
That's
right.
Yes.
If I died, this whole thing would not be happening right now.
That's right.
So,
just so you know, you are my favorite veteran.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
That means a lot. That makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside. And you know what? When you thank me for returning, you got to thank a lot of other people. And we don't have time to do it by name. But there's a lot of people that the only reason I'm here today is because of them. But there are a couple I do have to say by name. I want to call out the members of the two teams I served on while I was serving in Iraq. Boomer, you were a surgeon with the pistol, and even better with the 240. Thanks for keeping me alive. Joel, you're the best driver I have ever seen in my life. Talk about threading the needle. You should have seen the guy drive through a tight Iraqi marketplace during rush hour traffic. And then there were the team leaders I served under. Sergeant Waters, you had the perfect demeanor for the shitstorm that we were in. You kept things light. You were a beacon of light when times were darkest, and I'm pretty sure I returned home with my sanity because of it. And LT, as much as I wanted to hate you, I found myself respecting you because of your combat acumen. You were the smartest member that I served with. You could think your way out of anything, and you put that to good purpose multiple times. So thank you.
We had your birthday party last month, and it was really awesome to spend time with your family. And we have this tradition in the November family that we go around the room, and every person in the room has to say something that they're either grateful for or a funny story of the person who has a birthday. It really does sort of sound like a eulogy, and sometimes like, he was so great.
Yeah.
At whatever,
And people speak about you like you're not sitting right there.
Yeah, but you are. And at this point, you're just used to it because we've done it every year.
Yeah, this is our family tradition.
I made the tradition, and now it's a thing that we do every single year. And not only, it's spread beyond just you. It's now like nieces and nephews and like other people, friends of the family are now doing this tradition. So I'm glad I've like created an influence that's like spreading upon generationally. But anyhow, so we're all sitting around the table. We're all telling stories about Clyde. What's our favorite thing about Clyde?
Most of them were funny stories. There were a lot of laughs had.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, Clyde's mom goes last. And she says, my favorite story about Clyde is the moment that he stepped out of the airplane after being in Iraq and he was safe on American ground. And all of us, I'm crying now just talking about it, all of us started to cry because the impact that had is incredible.
My parents, in my family, it is awkward to talk about your feelings, right?
Right. Novembers have no feelings.
That's right. That's what we want the world to believe. However, I don't know if you remember this, but the last day I was in the military, I was ready to work my last shift. It was about 7 o'clock at night. I was eating dinner with you, with our 2 kids that were alive at that point, and my parents were there. And we started reflecting about how this was going to be the last time I had to wear the uniform. And my dad said, I would like to say something. My dad said, one of the biggest privileges of my life has been watching you put the uniform on for the last 8 years and serve our country proudly. And he said, you've brought me so much pride. The whole time he was trying to say that, he was just crying.
Yeah.
And my dad is not someone you just randomly see cry because he doesn't express his feelings often, but he expressed it that night and it meant a lot to me. And I'm glad that he did because it meant a lot to me to know that my military service not only had this really big impact on me, but had an impact on him, had an impact on my parents, had an impact on you.
Yeah. That was an emotional day because up to that point, you put that uniform on every day of our marriage. And like I said, I spent more time in our marriage as a military wife than I did as not a military wife. It was life-altering to think that was the last time I ever saw you in your uniform.
And that's all the time we have for tonight's episode. We want to thank our viewers for tuning in to us.
That's right. You can listen to us on any of your favorite podcasting platforms.
Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Send us an email. Check out our website at ilovemyidiot.com.
And don't forget to tell your idiot that you love them.
I love my idiot.
I respected you more then. Clyde?
Yes, Rosie?
I wanted to actually do a little behind the scenes with you for the audience.
Raw and uncut?
Since this whole episode was devoted to the military and veterans, I understand that when you were in the military, you had to memorize a lot of random chants. And early in our marriage, you would be saying these in the bathroom because I knew you had to have them memorized. You had to do these things with them. Do you still remember the Soldier's Creed?
Ooh. Now, you're right. I did used to sit around and say these over and over. It was the only way I could memorize them. But there's some things that are easier to remember, right? Mm-hmm. Like the Army song, piece of cake, because it's to a catchy tune. Certain cadences where we march, easier to remember because they're fun and funny.
Yeah.
Soldier's Creed was a hard one for me to memorize.
All right, we'll take a shot at it. Let's just hear what you can remember.
I am an American soldier. I am a warrior and a member of a team. I serve the people and live by the Army values. There's something about never quitting. I have guns and stuff. I'm a professional. I'm a warrior and member of a team.
It sounds like we lost you. Like the first sentence was okay, and then all of a sudden you go a little wonky there, Clyde. I think you've forgotten a little bit.
Yeah, well,
you got to remember these things. This is your passion. This is what you did. Like, this is an incredible part of who you are.
Look, I have not said or even thought about the Soldier's Creed since, I would say, 2011.
Uh-huh.
So, time has passed, and I'm not that good at memorizing stuff.
Right. You are very good at memorizing stuff.
No, clearly I just proved I'm not.
Really? What are the rules of Fight Club?
The first rule of Fight Club is you do not talk about Fight Club. The second rule of Fight Club is you do not talk about Fight Club. The third rule of Fight Club, someone yells stop, goes limp, taps out. The fight is over. Fourth rule, only 2 guys to a fight. Fifth rule, 1 fight at a time, fellas. Sixth rule, no shirts, no shoes. Seventh rule, fights will go on as long as they have to. And the eighth and final rule, if this is your first night at Fight Club, you have to fight. Okay,
Ridiculous.
that was an exception. You picked
you
one of my
are
favorite movies.
Ridiculous. You are ridiculous right now.
Okay, I may have been a subpar soldier at best. Let's be honest.
Give me one line from the movie Field of Dreams.
Well, of course, the classic one. If you build it, he will come.
Yeah, but you know some obscure ones. Let's be real. That you have memorized.
The one constant through all the years, Ray, has been baseball. America has rolled by like an army of steamrollers, and it has erased like a blackboard, rebuilt and erased again. But baseball has marked the time.
Right.
In my best James Earl Jones.
Yeah. All right. What's the best quote from Princess Bride?
You fell victim to one of the classic blunders. The most common of which is never getting a land war in Asia, but only slightly less well known is this. Never go in against a Sicilian when death is on the line. That one's an easy one, though. I feel like everyone knows that one.
Oh my gosh. So we just went to Seamus's wedding a couple of weeks ago, and you actually quoted the toast from Old School off the top of your head. Do it.
True love is hard to find. Sometimes you think you have true love, and then you catch the early flight home from San Diego, and a couple of nude people jump out of your bathroom blindfolded like a goddamn magic show, ready to double team your girlfriend. That's one of my all-time favorite movie quotes.
Yeah. So when you say you can't memorize stuff or you have a bad memory, air quotes included.
It's selective.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
gonna
definitely
admit,
selective.
It's selective.
Yeah, it's definitely selective. Now, I ask you to retell me our wedding vows. You don't remember shit from our wedding. But if it is a movie line or something that you have a passion about, you memorize it. So
I can't help it.
yeah, you're letting me down.
It's the way my brain works, you know.
And you're letting your soldiers down by not knowing the creed.
You know what? If any one of them was in my seat right now, I bet they would all, fail as well.
Yeah. All right. Well, I challenge you, Clyde. Print it out, stick it to the mirror in the bathroom, and memorize it. Because the words in that creed are really important. And I think that they are more important than just the military, just the army. I think that they are important in life. So maybe make a little less room for movie quotes and a little more room for things that matter.
Now I don't live by that creed. I live by a new creed, the teacher's creed. It's like, I will work 8 months a year. I will occasionally put in time on weekends, but mostly enjoy my holidays off.
I promise not to hit kids with rulers.
Yeah, stuff like that. So, I've got a new lifestyle, a cush lifestyle.
Yeah, you do. Mostly because you're married to a freaking diamond over here.
That's right. That's right.
All right, Clyde. Anyways, thanks for joining me for After Hours with Clyde and Rosie.
Stay classy.
Stay classy.